Battlefield 1 is one of the most historically accurate first-person shooters, with accurate remakes of First World War weaponry being brought to life for you to mow down your mates online. It's refreshing to play a game with semi-automatic rifles. The pacing needs to be exciting enough to compete with other first-person shooter titles, and to avoid becoming stale very quickly to players. DICE opted to introduce several experimental weapons from the time period into the game, which mostly take the form of easily carryable submachine guns. It does feel a little odd at times, I'll be honest, but overall the game is well paced. These weapons don't cause too much of a problem in terms of weapon balancing, which is also quite nice. The game has some of the most brutal melee takedowns ever seen in a mainstream FPS. A variety of area-accurate melee weapons allow you to hack, chop and dice your way to victory, using items such as knife, clubs and spades. Although the game does have a big flaw with community selfishness. Players control, like medics for example, they often ignore revives in favour of running and gunning for what could be considered more important to them, kills. The game doesn't punish these players who really don't play to their objective, and this really needs to be addressed. But the main thing for Battlefield 1 has to be the destructibility. Battlefield games have always had destructibility, and if you see an opposition member hiding in a specific building, just knock it down. Enemy snipers picking off your teammates, simple, just fire a rocket gun shot or two and he won't be bothering you anymore. The destructibility just allows for a fun shooting experience. You don't get that with other games. Just be careful you don't get crushed by falling debris. The pickups are quite nice as well, let's be honest. You can get flame trooper kits, heavily armoured sentry kits. I mean, there's a little bit of a delay on them, which makes for a tense few seconds as you're getting your weapon ready or your gas mask on. And yeah, they're slower moving and have a reduced field of vision, but you get tank-like abilities that just sweep soldiers aside with ease. Despite having larger maps than, say, Call of Duty or anything, the feel of the game just couldn't be more vivid. There's always some noise or something in the background, like there's always artillery fire, or just it really brings out the ear-deafening loudness of war to life. Whereas compare that with Modern Warfare, which has some of the smallest maps you've ever seen, and yet there's just still a sense of eeriness when you're playing that game. Maybe it's because there's not enough people playing it, but there's definitely a sense of eeriness playing that game. Squad orders, well, they're really ignored by a lot of the players, which can become really frustrating. Squad orders will not only give you more XP through actually gaining the objective, but you get a swifter victory because you're actually playing the objective. Game modes like Conquest, you're actually focusing on the onslaught rather than focusing on kills. You don't actually have to communicate with these players, you literally just press a few buttons in the game and yet they still ignore you at every opportunity. They're less interactive than ever, which is annoying considering you're playing a game that focuses on teamwork. I think this game really just needs to realise how beautiful it is though. When I saw the Seven Nation Army Glitchbox trailer, the very first one, it just blew my mind, blew the minds of millions of others. Despite the fact that it's one of humanity's biggest tragedies, it's one of the most colourful games you'll ever see. The colour palette is so wide and vivid. It's astounding compared to the doo-doo browns of Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. The maps look, it's so accurate it could be real, whether you're playing in the green village of Saint-Quentin Scar, the dusty tundras of Suez Canal, or the bleak hopelessness of Giant's Shadow. It's impressive, just no matter where you're playing. So once again, the issues of EA's infamous servers have risen their ugly head. Same with FIFA, Titanfall, Star Wars, now Battlefield 1. They all suffer from terrible servers and equally terrible maintenance on them, meaning they're always down, or crashed, or whatever. Especially from launch, this game had massive server issues, everyone trying to get on at the same time. EA just don't care enough to provide decent servers for its players, and that really sucks. I must say that honestly, the skins in the game for the weapons look horrible. Like, some of them are awful, like the Dillinger for the shotgun. They make me sick in my mouth whenever I see them. And the constant grinding and actual money spending to get nice skins just doesn't work because they're awful. And skins are really needed in games now. Call of Duty highlighted how important they are, and yet skins make you look like a much better player, and it shows that you've just gunned down the guy you just gunned down, that you mean business. This is an EA game, so it's understandable that battle packs are in this. Battlefield 1 does feature battle packs, and the company claimed to revamp them. They drop better materials, but ultimately they don't. Battle packs suck. They're just there to siphon as much money out of players as possible. The inclusion of them is literally to make cold cash. That's the only reason why. And obviously they've got to make some money, but even so, the battle packs are just ridiculous. They'll drop the same items unless you actually use real money. Now, despite the fact that this is one of the most refreshing shooters I've played in years, the lack of content just makes the game boring. DLC packs are far too far between. You know, They Shall Not Pass was a brilliant piece of DLC, but it didn't have the French army in from the start. Same with the Russians when they come out in the name of the Tsar, which comes out in a couple of weeks' time. How could they not have the French and Russian armies in from the start of the game, in a World War I game? And it also doesn't have some of the most significant and bloody battles of the First World War. Instead, you have to pay the same price as the actual game just to play as some of these people. It's ridiculous. In order to keep players, which Battlefield 1 has struggled in recent months, you need to have a lot of content at the start, and then they'll increase more, rather than just having nothing in the hope of buying more. EA and DICE have just had the same issue with Star Wars Battlefront. It looked good, the gameplay was flawed, and ultimately it had nothing from the start. So despite the fact that there isn't much trench warfare in a World War I game, despite the fact that the weapons aren't realistic at times, and the fact that tanks just win everything in about 30 seconds, this is a fun game. It's so much more enjoyable than the Call of Duty games of late. It has heart. No one wants to flip around in an unrealistic, futuristic game. They're just crap. Battlefield 1 has actual gravity, and most important of all, it's fun. It's a really fun game, and I enjoy playing it a lot. I try and play this as much as I can, and yeah, bits of it suck. But ultimately, Battlefield 1 does not suck.